Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5 a.m. Club. And what I am doing today is I'm just chilling out in my car. I'm in the driveway, just sitting here in my bubble, in my 2020 bubble. It's the end of the year, and I just want to finish off a couple of book summaries that I've been working through. And the book summary that I want to spend some more time on today is entitled Factfullness by Hans Rosling. And what I did was I went through that book summary a little while ago, and the author comes across 10 instincts. He calls them instincts or distortions, but it's things that we all have, and we've always had these things. They're part of our makeup, and depending on a personality trait or a personality type, they'll have more or less all of these instincts, and some will be more enhanced or less enhanced depending on the experience that the person has been brought up on. But the author made a very, very valid and powerful statement saying that that we have about 10 different instincts that distort our perspective of the world. They distort the way we see the world, and also prevent us from seeing how the world really is. And that's what brings us to having disagreements with friends and family, with teachers, with bosses, with work peers, with our wives, with our children, grandchildren, because we've got these different perspectives. We've got different beliefs, different views, and we express those views differently depending on which generation you've been brought up in and which generation you've lived most with. They're shaped by culture, by our religion, by our education. They're shaped by many things. And when I say shaped, they're either enhanced or weakened, depending on the influence that each of these other influences have on these distortions. But a lot of these distortions are very, very basic, and you'll be surprised that regardless of how educated or how smart somebody is, once you identify and understand the distortions that the author has submitted to everybody to consider, you'll be able to see right through it, and you'll be able to see where that person's coming from, because they'll be expressing a distortion. And then what you can do is you can just go to the root of that distortion and question the assumption or what causes that distortion in that person. And you'll be surprised at how enlightening it is for them that you've identified it and helped them see something they haven't been able to see themselves. But it also gives you some power in order to help the people around you, but also to help yourself. Because as we said, we have these distortions. We've got them at the conscious and deep in our subconscious level. So we don't even know how these distortions are impacting us. But it's important to understand that they're there, they're operating at both levels, conscious and subconscious, and they're impacting the way we see the world, the way we behave, what we believe, what we value, and actually what we can see. Now, there are examples that depending on your beliefs, depending on these distortions that you have, you create scotomas, and there are things that you can't even see, even if they're in front of you, because you're not looking for it, because it's distorted. You can't see it. It could be upside down, but once you understand that these distortions are in place, then you're in a better position to at least examine them. We're not talking about eliminating them. We're not talking about going tap, 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 the magic wand and making them disappear in yourself, your wife, your children, your work peers and everybody else. But it's important to understand that these things are operating. And the one that I'm going to talk about today is, and I'm doing a deep dive on each of the 10 distortions over 10 separate Jim's 5 a.m. clubs. So today we're going to be talking about the straight line instinct. The straight line instinct. And the straight line instinct is pretty easy to describe. And it's something that we all do all the time. So the straight line instinct is basically, we use the past experiences to predict what's going to happen in the future. So what we do is we take the experiences over our past and we think or assume that those experiences are going to grow or continue in a straight line into the future. So if something happened yesterday or the day before, then we're expecting the same thing to happen if we do the same thing again tomorrow and the day after. But what the author suggests is that that may work in some circumstances, and it may have worked in days gone by, but the world has dramatically changed, with technology, with artificial intelligence, with the fact that we're more of a service economy now, so we're generating ideas as opposed to labouring, and 1 unit of labour equals 1 unit of output. Now, 1 unit of thinking can create 10 units of ideas and actions. So the author says, and we all know this, like we've learned this over time, that the future is very, very hard to predict. And I've said it time and time again, I'm a share market trader. I trade shares through my broker. And we're traders. So we buy and sell shares on a daily basis. And we're buying and selling shares based on contrarian beliefs. So when we think a share is being sold off and the market has overreacted, we'll buy them because we know that the sentiment is going to change, and that overselling will recorrect itself once some sanity comes into that market for that particular share. So, but we do it all the time, like you look at a share market graph, for example, the share market over the past 20 years, and it just keeps on growing and growing. So that the tendency is to grow, and because it's grown, you think that over the next 10 years it's going to do the same thing, and thank God it continues to do that. But the share market doesn't grow in a straight line. It goes in a zigzagging line, but it's been trending up. And the same is with life, with relationships, with our experiences, with the weather patterns, with everything. It's variable, it changes, and it can change for a period of time. And if it changes for a period of time then you may think that it's changed completely and it's never going to be like it used to be. So it's always different, it's always interesting, it's always challenging. And it happens with relationships, like you can be with people and you're the best of friends, for ages, and all of a sudden they go cold on you, for some reason, but you don't know what's happening in their lives. And but you think that because they've gone cold or because they no longer show an interest, that they're no longer friendly with you or want to be your friend. But we need to understand that there are things happening. There are other things happening in their lives. But let's get back on track. So the author says that a straight line is a rarity in nature. So life is more wavy, more cyclical is the word that I'm looking for, just like the seasons of the year. And it's dangerous, and it's dangerous trying to predict the future based on the past, because the past never equals the future. Is the big lesson. So we need to be cautious of predicting the future based on past observations. Now, when I was younger, I used to go to the races all the time. When I was at uni with my mates, we used to go to the races. And, you know, we were educated, we were, you know, university students, and we thought we were pretty smart. So you'd go through the form guide and you look at what the horse did last time and the time before that, and you look at the times that the horse ran and how much weight it was carrying and who the jockey was and what distance it was running over and what the conditions were. Was it wet? Was it dry? And who the trainer was, and you know, how many times back from the spill was it running when it won. And we took all of that sort of stuff into analysis, and we thought that because we're smart, we can obviously work out who the winner of the race is going to be. But you'll know, anybody who's been to the races will quickly find out that form counts for nothing. You know, it's just what happens on the day. Now, as long as the horses are fit, and most of the horses are fit, there are things which just happen, which you just can't predict. So form guide and looking at the past and predicting the future, in horse racing at least, is very, very difficult. And it also happens with us people as well. And I guess an example I could probably give is, you know, in relationships. You know, you fall in love with somebody, you marry somebody, and you know, you look at their past and you assess their past, and you try and work out their character and who they are, and you know, what input has gone into their life, and you try and predict going forward. I don't know if everybody does this, but I'm sure that it crosses people's mind. You know, when you're about to marry somebody, or you're considering dating somebody and marrying them, then one of the thoughts that must cross your mind is this person worthy of being my partner one day? And then you start thinking about, you know, like, you know, what sort of mother are they going to be? What sort of a partner are they going to be? What sort of a wife? Are they going to be dependable? Are they going to be loyal, faithful? Are they going to be able to live away from their families and parents and friends? Are they going to be healthy? You know, what's the health? What's their health going to be like? You know, if they're unhealthy before you get married, then, you know, what are the chances of them having health issues later on? Anyway, there are all of these factors which go into our decisions, and but you know, you marry, and the person you marry, just like we do, just like I have, you know, you change over time. I'm not the person that, in some ways, I'm not the person that my wife fell in love with. I lost my hair. I put on some kilos. I've changed my hobbies, and I'm a sort of person who's very, very spontaneous and chops and changes all the time, which I'm sure that is you know, would be concerning to some people. And that's why I always say to my wife, you know, that I'm very, very lucky to have her, because very few other people would be able to live with my sort of personality type. So you know, they're the sorts of considerations that all people need to take into consideration. And getting back to this straight line instinct, that just because it happens in the past doesn't mean it's going to happen in the future. Things change, and we shouldn't get disappointed when you think that you try and predict how a friendship's going to go, or how an investment's going to go, or how a business venture is going to go, the future doesn't always work out. You know, people change, circumstances change, and we need to be in a position to change with those changes in order to still stay relevant and still stay connected. Because the author mentions here and raises the following, saying that no child ever achieved the growth rate that it had in its first 6 months of its life. And by the same token, no parent ever expects that their child will continue growing and developing as they grew and developed in that first 6 months of their life. So it's all about being, reasonable and realistic with what our expectations are of the future, and to be careful not to add 1 + 1 and think that you're going to get the number 2, because 1 + 1, can make 3, could make 11. Who knows? And as we said, life has its ups and downs. So I think that's probably the key point from the straight line instinct. And as I say, we're wired like that, but we need to understand that wiring may have worked 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, a million years ago, but today it's not as relevant or as serving to us. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and most importantly, let's take some of these lessons from this wonderful book called Factfullness from Hans Rosling, and understand that each and every person, you, me, our wives, our husbands, our parents, our grandparents, our children, our grandchildren, our work peers, everybody has distortions, has certain instincts in their lives which distort the way they see the world and impacts the way they see what their reality is. And that's why we have disagreements. That's why we have fights. That's why we don't see eye to eye on many issues, because we've got a different perspective. We've got things which are distorted, out of shape. And one of those things, one of those distortions, is that some people look at what has happened in the past in their life and assume it's going to happen in your life, or they've had some bad things happen in their relationship with their partner, or they may have had a bad relationship with their father, and then think that all children have a bad relationship with their father. Who knows where it is, but you can't use your past, your experiences, to dictate and understand what's happening in other people's lives. You need to listen to what they're saying. You need to understand where they're coming from, and to not assume or not to jump to conclusions based on your experiences, but to try and be open to what's happening and what other people's reality is. Anyway, I think I've said enough today on that topic, but I hope you found it useful. I found it very, very useful, and hence why I'm doing 10 separate Jim's 5am clubs on this particular topic. So I look forward to coming to you again tomorrow from a different location. Hopefully I'll get out of my bubble with a different topic, and we'll see where it leads us. So once again, thank you for your loyalty. Thank you for joining me on Jim's 5am club, and I look forward to going on many voltas, many beautiful journeys with you, where we can just chit chat, casually, and see where it leads us. As I say, I come unscripted, unedited, uncensored, unplanned, unorganized. So it's just a free-for-all, but it's an authentic free-for-all where we reach into the hole and we pull out a snake. Βάζουμε το χέρι στη τρύπα και βγάζουμε το φίδι, just to see what we can learn, what we can share, and as we said, how we can become better people, better examples of ourselves. Anyway, γεια σας. Take care, and we'll chat again. It's getting dark. Can you see me? I can just hardly see myself there in the iPhone screen. But chat again. Bye for now. Με πολύ αγάπη. Bye for now. Jim from Jim's 5am Club. Γεια σας.